Today's podcast is brought to you by the BetStamp app, which is helping thousands of people win at sports betting for free. The same way travelers use Google Flights or Expedia to find the best prices, bettors can now use BetStamp to do the same. When you place a bet, the odds given by a sportsbook will determine how much you could possibly win. Even when betting on the same outcome, different sportsbooks will offer varying payouts, and these differences can be huge. Thankfully, BetStamp allows you to easily line shop for the most profitable odds across all sports books. You can click on any matchup and instantly see all the different odds for game lines, player props, and even futures bets. Line shopping is the simplest way to find an edge in sports betting long term. On average, BetStamp users win an extra $1,000 yearly just by line shopping. You can find the BetStamp app on the Apple iOS Store, Google Play Store, or through your browser at www.betstamp.app. To access all these benefits, sign up using promo code SICKBOYS and start your journey to successful sports betting today. If you forget to use the code upon sign up, you can always enter our code in your BetStamp account settings afterwards. Check it out. What's going on, everybody? This is the Sync Boys Podcast.
Sync boy.
That's right. All right. The NFL's around the corner. I absolutely love saying that. And we're gonna get into one red flag or one thought, if we're high on a team, I guess. About each team in the NFL. We also have some breaking news. We're not breaking it, but it is breaking. Jack?
Do we want to break it now?
Yeah, I think the people need to know from us because no one else told them.
What do we got?
DeAndre Hopkins is signing with the Tennessee Titans. I think it is a fantastic move. I think, okay. Obviously, we would have loved to see him on the Giants or on a team with a quote unquote better quarterback. But I think what's attractive about a team like the Titans for somebody like DeAndre Hopkins is the stability of the franchise. Now, they've had quarterback injuries. They've had tough losses in the playoffs recently, and they've done it all with a mediocre quarterback and roster. But Mike Vrabel is proven to be one of the better coaches in the league.
He's a good coach.
And if you look around at their offense and their division, Tannehill has proved that he can be that serviceable quarterback, the ones that are famous for playing for Kyle Shanahan, the guys that are just keep the boat afloat kind of guys. And now he has Hopkins. Treylon Burks apparently is looking very, very good entering his sophomore year. Derrick Henry is still top 5 runner of the football in the NFL. And then that tight end Okungwu, is that his name?
No, that guy's on the Atlanta Hawks.
What is his name?
No idea. Not relevant.
Yes, it is, because he is. People are talking about him as the next big breakout at the tight end position. Yes, dude.
So Joe and
here we go.
Joe started this statement with stability of a franchise.
Yes.
And I think even in the past couple of years when Tennessee has been quote unquote good, they were like a boat taking on water. Like, we are not great. We're good right now. And they've only gotten worse. They've only been downhill.
What makes you think that?
Record. Injuries.
Injuries is not my team. This
losing
team's bad.
Losing defensive good players, offensive good players. Their O-line deteriorating. Them never having had a good quarterback in the first place. Yeah, they're going to be bad this year. And D-Hop, it's going to be like Kenny Golladay.
Dude, you are absolutely delusional with that.
Just because some guys are good doesn't mean they go in and everything's good.
It's exactly what has happened in the past 2 years. Yes. He goes to Arizona and he vibes with Kyler. Kyler gets hurt and he's still putting up 8 catches on 10 targets and 80 yards and a touchdown every week with Colt McCoy. Who's the other guy that they had in Arizona starting last year?
You can't convince me that Tennessee is a stable franchise.
I feel like I just laid it out for you.
It is that none of that made me.
They are
reassured.
going to win that division this
You
year.
said something about how Derrick Henry was a good rushing, has been top 5 or whatever, and then you were trying to hype up the tight end. Dude,
And
they don't
Burks.
have anything. Burks sucks.
Burks sucked with Malik Willis last year.
Burks sucks.
And Joshua Dobbs. Like,
that guy stinks.
What's the dude? I think that you are so set in your mind on Tannehill being below average.
I think the Titans aren't good. I think even when that team was going deep in the playoffs the past couple of years with Vrabel, it's like they still seemed like that team that didn't really belong there, that shouldn't really be there. They're not good enough.
I think that,
and they've only gotten worse since then. If you're looking at the roster, dude, I'm taking defense very much into account here, and I can't name specific names, but that defense was definitely rated a lot higher 2 years ago and higher than what they're going to be this year.
I guess I can understand that part of it. I just can't get out of my brain the fact that their head coach has already proven to be probably top 5 as a leader, but also he's a Hall of Fame linebacker that won multiple Super Bowls. He will be able to breed a defense that is going to be able to keep these games close enough. And now that they have a little bit more offensive firepower, dude, Hopkins is nowhere close. Like, it's not like he had a devastating injury like Julio Jones, and then he went to Tennessee, and now it's like, wow, this guy's 35, coming off an injury. He's not going – like, Hopkins is going to be the focal point of their passing offense. He's going to get 10-plus targets a game, maybe closer to 12. And we know he could still do it all.
Dude,
no matter
say what you want about Kyler Murray, but I think we're going to see a real difference this year. Because as bad as the rest of the team was around him for DeAndre Hopkins' most of his career, he always had a pretty decent guy throwing him the ball. And we'll see about Ryan Tannehill this year.
Okay, I can't believe how far we are.
Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray, I would say those guys are pretty good quarterbacks.
And his production didn't drop off at all when those guys weren't in the picture.
We'll have to do a deep dive.
Yes, we will. Excellent. I'm excited for that. All right, well, I guess we already covered the Titans. So let's just keep it going. We're going to go division by division. We have one thought for each team. Jack, what do you have for the Houston Texans this year?
No expectations.
Like, is that... Okay, go into that.
Just a completely new system. They brought in a new GM a couple of years ago. It's totally failed with Caserio. I'm pretty sure he's like the next guy on the chopping block. A lot of stuff going to be up in the air. They just got their new franchise quarterback at 2nd overall, I believe. They just named a new head coach. So a lot of new stuff in Houston going on. I hope though that like this is looking forward a couple years, but I hope that them not being able to get out of the cellar, especially because they're like stripped bare assets wise. I hope that doesn't affect DeMeco Ryans' like how long his tenure is as a head coach there. Because sometimes it's like, oh, you didn't win. It's like you didn't give me anything.
Yeah, and that's been a theme of a red flag in itself. Apparently, there's like a trend of black head coaches getting hired to these, cellar teams, them not performing and not winning games because their roster is absolutely horrible, and them getting fired. I don't think that that'll happen this time around. But where I was at with this is aligned exactly with you. They have a terrible offensive line. They don't have any offensive stars. Dameon Pierce, I guess, but I think that he just had a surprise rookie year compared to expectations. I don't think that anybody's over here calling him even a top 10 running back. They have a rookie quarterback from Ohio State, not a university that's necessarily known for dishing out great NFL quarterbacks, a rookie head coach who's defensive minded. So there's a lot of things that aren't really going in the Texans' favor. And I guess that all of them are red flags. Like, what's a positive about what they have going on?
The past 2 years, they drafted Stingley in the first round, and then that D end, was it Brian Anderson or something?
This year,
that D end that
Will
from
Anderson?
Alabama, Will Anderson. So they got 2 top 5 picks on their defense with a defensive coach.
Dude, they also have that safety. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, the guy that hits Petrie.
Petrie. That dude was nasty last year as a rookie. All right. Colts, what do you got?
How long are the veterans on this team going to stick around and wait for Anthony Richardson to become something?
I think it's a lot easier when he looks like what he looks like and, the athleticism. I think it's easier to stick around for that stuff.
This is a similar comparison to like what we were just talking about with the Texans. Maybe the Colts are a little bit better off because of the team that they already have around Richardson. But these guys are all going to be projects. How long are these projects going to take? And just as one example of a guy, will Shaq Leonard still be with the Colts when they're in the playoffs with Anthony Richardson?
Shaq Leonard?
That's what he wanted to be called going into last year.
Darius Leonard?
Darius.
What?
Yeah, Shaq Leonard. It's like I've been called Shaq Leonard my whole life.
All right. Yeah, dude, one thing that I guess was a red flag for me with the Colts was that it's like, yes, they had Matt Ryan. Who was the other guy? Oh, Sam Ellinger and Nick Foles. That was their quarterback room last year. And one thing that we know the Colts were terrible at was protecting the quarterback. How much of that can be contributed to the speed of pass rushers kind of catching up to the Matt Ryans of the world? Maybe a little bit, but dude, there was games that Matt Ryan got sacked 8 times last year. And it's like, okay, well, we know they can run block because Jonathan Taylor had a huge rookie season, but how much of that is going to be a factor in this team's ability to win games this year? I don't know. And then they also have a rookie head coach. Who is it? It's that weird guy.
Steichen.
Yeah. Weird guy. One of the Eagles coordinators that they lost. But yeah, I mean, we're starting off with the worst division with the most red flags. So, and it's all the key points that you need to be a successful franchise. So, yikes for them. Jags, what do you got?
I mean, obviously the team with the most upside in the division, but
we just all right. Okay.
What?
The Titans. I still see the Titans
the
as being
most upside.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
I think you saw a FanDuel line and you were like, "Oh, that's good value." Let's take Tennessee to win this division.
I didn't. Dude, first of all, we just found out about the Hopkins thing. Without Hopkins, I don't feel this way at all.
That's insane how one receiver. See, our value of receivers is completely different.
It depends on the player.
I think it's all about the system.
Dude, if you took Devontae Adams off of the Raiders, that offense would be absolutely nothing.
I know.
Okay.
That is a complete terrible system.
Okay.
The Raiders? All right. Jacksonville. Jags were top half of the league in both passing yards and rushing yards per game. Their defense was 24th in opponents' yards per game.
Yuck.
That's looking at it way too simply. But they should be very solid this year. I think their defense improves a lot. They become a much better, well-rounded team. Introduce Calvin Ridley into the offense. I guess the red flags, and I think you mentioned this and you're probably going to go into this, is Trevor Lawrence's either slow starts or just bad mistakes.
Yeah, the word I used was consistency. I mean, we've seen him with the 350 and 4 touchdowns. I mean, the playoff game is a perfect example of this. He throws 4 picks in the first half against the Chargers and then 4 touchdowns, 0 picks in the second half. So
We
It's
totally
like,
overlooked that game. That was game of the year. I know we said the two Vikings games, but dude, coming back from that score in a playoff game winning field goal.
I guess when I look at the Titans compared to the Jags in this sense, it seems like there's a lot more volatility with the Jags when I feel like I can rely on the stability of what to expect from the Titans. The Jags, who knows, dude? There's a lot of holes on that team. And there's a lot of guys that were kind of like discarded by other teams on that offense. Zay Jones, Kirk, Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley. All four of those guys were discarded by their previous teams, even though that we knew they had potential. I don't know what that means in terms of stability. I guess it means that they could be bad. Those guys could be bad. Combined with Trevor Lawrence inconsistency, they might lose a bunch of games that they should win this year.
So progress is obviously not a straight line, and Trevor Lawrence's most recent game that we saw him in was the Chiefs game where they almost won. The game before that, he obviously had an incredibly volatile game where he's throwing picks and coming back. I think his play improves dramatically, and he's right in that conversation with Herbert and Burrow and Allen.
That's MVP status.
I still think it's like Mahomes and then like Burrow, Herbert, Allen, maybe Lawrence.
All right. Good.
Hurts up there.
AFC West. Chiefs. I have absolutely no red flags. And my thoughts are no matter which kind of style of offense, no matter who their skill position players are, as long as Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are working together, I think that the Chiefs should be favored, and we don't have enough reasons to doubt that at this point. No matter what Joe Burrow and Cincinnati got going on, Buffalo, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Niners, I don't think that there's enough of a reason to doubt the Chiefs and what they have going on because clearly they have a lot figured out.
Quick sidebar. I 100% agree with you. I think the only red flag that they might have is the defense. And that's like when you have Pat Mahomes, it's like, yeah, the only thing you're going to worry about really is the only things he can't control when he's not on the field. Now,
Well said.
sidebar Pacheco. They found a serviceable running back late in the draft, low value. Didn't have to reset the running back market, didn't get caught up in some situation where they have to pay this guy or their running back a big contract. They keep finding guys to just stick in that backfield. Now, the running back conversation, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler wanting Saquon to hold out more, make a stand for the running backs. What is the solution to that situation? Obviously, this is not going to be answered today, but I'm thinking that the NFL goes through like an entire like position like morphing change situation where some bulkier receivers just get used as running backs sometimes, and then it morphs so much that
this is way out of bounds.
the receivers and the running backs are kind of all like treated the same. And you can like maybe like 5-6 years from now, you just have like some receivers lining up in the backfield sometimes. And then the positions become the same. But that would only bring the market down from the receivers where they're at, where the running backs are at. It's only going to bring them down towards the middle.
This is a whole new concept I haven't been able to grasp, even as you're saying it. What I would say is absolutely zero changes happen in terms of owners succumbing to these like Saquon Barkley holding out against the Giants when they're a huge organization, top 10 most like revenue of all like teams in the world. But it's not something that's going to completely flip the script on how all 32 owners in the NFL treat the running back position. When each one of them have found success in replacing somebody if they want too much money. I understand they touch the ball the most outside of the quarterback. I understand that they get hit the most. somebody else can do their job, and that's where I stand on running backs. As much as I love Saquon and what he's given to the Giants over the years,
But I think we've had a couple martyrs the past couple of years, guys that try to, fall on the sword for the running backs. And
exactly.
Le'Veon Bell comes
Yep.
to mind, and what happened to him after all that contract dispute. He bounces around to like 6 teams, wins a Super Bowl as like the fourth running back on the depth chart with the Chiefs. Um, is that in Saquon's future? We don't know. I don't know how much time he has left, but with the Giants and playing in New York, you have this opportunity, this rare opportunity where you are at the center of the world and media and all these different opportunities around you. Just keeping your contract with a team like New York and being a Giant for life can afford you so many opportunities in and of itself. So it sounds like Saquon's like, I want 4 years, and they're like, we won't do more than like 2, maybe 3.
I think it's about the guaranteed money too. My thing is
But it's
like,
definitely not AAV. I don't think that's a problem right now. And that is just a conversation sparker because we saw that leaked thing that said he wanted 13 a year or something. It's like, I don't think we're talking about AAV anymore.
dude, I don't get. It's like I don't get the martyrs. It's like if this is so, why are you holding out? It's so that you can get money guaranteed, so that you don't have to, generational wealth, all this stuff. But it's like history has shown that people that hold out in these situations destroy their career. So it's like, even if you do end up getting this, now you haven't been with the team for a couple months. Now maybe you don't have the season, and now the success of your career is over anyway. Dude, I don't understand it. And you just made a good point about the continuity in a franchise and the opportunities it gives you. Like, I don't get it. And it's like, who would you rather be right now? Would you rather be Daniel Jones, who probably took a discount as to what he was looking for? In now he's like the face of New York outside of the Aaron Rodgers bullshit in the Jets organization, and he's having fun this summer, and he's working with all the new players. He's the new
Posting a bunch of
coaches,
Poland spring posts.
dude.
I need one of those
Or would
coaches.
you rather be Saquon, the guy that's just binge posting workout videos on Instagram and is in the headline news as to not being signed to a team, like, and being associated with being a martyr and
But what do you
Le'Veon
want
Bell?
him to do? You want him to just take it? Just, well, you chose to play running back, and you can be the best player on a team, no doubt. But just take what running backs get paid. Just take like $7 million.
I think when you say it like that, it makes it sound like he's sacrificing. I think it's pretty clear that in the long term, if he takes that deal, a lot more is going to pay off. His happiness. Dude, what?
But dude,
Okay,
it's
so
a
he goes to
gamble.
another
It's
team.
it's a gamble. That's the situation. It's like you can't just go on these 1-2 year deals because
I don't
if
think it's 1 year. I don't think they're offering that.
what do you think they're offering?
I think it's all guaranteed. I think they're offering probably 12 million a year for 4 years. What is that? 48, and they're probably offering him like 20 million guaranteed. And he probably wants like 32, which is a huge disparity, $12 million. I don't think it has anything to do with the years or the total.
Even with him trying to stick up for himself and his position and trying to change the market, still he's going into what, his 6th year next year? Like there's not much time left. Like we don't know if he has like 6-7 years left in him. He could, but that's not what's been the case the past couple of years. Running backs, you typically have a short time span. So as much as he's trying to disparage the argument that running backs won't last that long and you shouldn't sign him that long, he's trying to get that another contract after this.
It's a good point. I would say too, let's look at the logistics of the other running backs that got paid a lot of money recently. Christian McCaffrey was on the Panthers when he got paid, and that team had no direction and probably just had, it's a small market team. They have one star on their team. Let's pay this guy this money because we have it to spend. And he was putting up ridiculous numbers on both sides of the equation with the receivers and the running. The other guy is Austin Eckler. Didn't he just get paid? Are the Chargers in a position to let him go? And that's kind of like a signal of like, we're going to try to restart that. I think if they let go of Staley, which we all thought they should have, they would have let Eckler walk to kind of reset the offensive structure, get a running back in there instead of just another pass catcher out of the backfield that can't rush for more than 800 yards in a season. I think that there's just the logistics of the situation, dude. The Giants are on we are about to start something really crazy up and up. They have everything in place. If he wants to be a part of it, cool. If not, our motto is you're going to buy in and you're going to play for the guy next to you. You're not going to play for yourself. We have a plan. I'm not just going to just divert from this plan that we have going because you want more money. You're one guy. This is a 53-man roster. That is not the Giants' way right now.
I think you're thinking just a little too much like 100% or 0%.
That's what it is, isn't it?
No.
Money is that way.
No, you're more like you're just a grunt like the rest of them. It's like you guys are all grunts. No, I don't think that's how he should be treated. I don't think that's how he's valued. You are bigger and more important than a lot of the guys on the team, and he deserves that respect.
Do you think that the coaches and the owners and everybody? Nope. Do you think that the coaches and the owners and everybody is like, yeah, Saquon, you're going to be the one that we put higher than everybody else. Everybody else has to fall in line.
I don't know why you would think that I think that way.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
I think you are offended that he wants to stick up for himself and try to get as much money as he can because he's not thinking as much of a team member as he could be, as much of a team guy when it's like he's been a masterful, master level team guy all this time.
Yeah.
Until this point where he needs to get what he deserves and he's making a run to get what he deserves and now he's getting shit on for it. I don't agree with that.
Because you want to be this guy this whole time, but then when it comes to that big crossroads, you're choosing yourself over what's better for the team. So what are you
Because the entire league, all the owners, all the management is pointing towards the direction of let's use up these running backs on these rookie contracts and then get rid of them.
Yeah.
So that's why he's acting the way he is. He wants the loyalty. He wants to be with the team for the long haul. But it doesn't sound like they're committed to him because they're afraid of the injury and losing the money. Just like you would be with any player. If we got AT to like a $25 million a year, maybe more, 30 million, whatever, 2-3 years from now, and then he's hurt every year. It's the exact same thing. It's just you're more willing to spend that money on a tackle instead of a running back because that position is not as injured all the time. Even though some of the highest paid guys have been just as injured as some of the highest paid running backs. If we're talking about tackles.
I mean, dude, another thing about the tackle thing, you can't out scheme or you can't scheme out lack of skill with the tackle as much as you can a running back. You need somebody that is better than everybody else at the tackle spot, or that is going to restrict you from doing everything else you want to do on the offensive side. All the other positions are affected by that. But you can get 70% of a top running back's play and still be able to function in your offense how you want if the other pieces are in place. Daniel Jones can't be as good as he can be if your left tackle is the worst player on the O line and significantly worse than the rest of the league.
That's true. A big part of why DJ did so well this year was improved play from the O line, and Andrew Thomas is one of the best tackles, even offensive linemen in the entire league. PFF did a redraft of the NFL. The first round was all just like, who do you want to build your franchise around? And what was AT, like 12th?
21st.
21st. Wow, I sold super high on that.
Dude, one more thing on Saquon before we move on. I can't believe how deep we went into this, but I like it. He has already made probably top 1%. He's in the top 1% of career earnings for running backs in the history of the NFL. Being drafted second overall and making about $8 million a year. $36 million. Some guys that rushed for 1,000 yards last season in a dual backfield set. Damian Harris is one example. Got paid $1 million this year.
That's a new perspective. I never thought about it that way.
It's like, dude, we I don't know. So I guess. All right, let's move on.
No, dude, it's a really good point. Why is he so hungry to make so much money? Why does he feel like he needs to get as much as he deserves if he just looks up with a simple Google search that he's like a top 5, top 10 at his position paid of all time? Like, chill.
And you know what's gonna
I don't know.
suck as a Giants fan is if he really fucks this up where he's not on the team and his career takes an absolute nosedive and he's not in the NFL in like 2 or 3 years like Le'Veon Bell did, it will be the biggest, like, we all told you this was going to happen, bro. And we all love you and think that you are one of the best players that has played for the franchise ever. And you just didn't want to listen. And now this is happening, and I don't feel bad for you. You did this to yourself. We told you so.
It's really like the most insane conundrum to me. The whole positional value market situation. Just because it's like you can get so many running backs. The parity in how much better the top guy is than the bottom guy is so much closer than almost any other position in the sport. And the replacement level is so frequent that the value of the position is just completely destroyed. We could just get somebody for $1 million to replace you. He'll do 75% as good and be almost as effective, and we'll be fine.
I mean, dude, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to minimize the running back position for anybody in the world, but you are being handed the ball. It's not a pass where you have to get open. You are being handed the ball behind the line of scrimmage with minimum every single time 5 guys blocking for you. And if you're being handed the ball, the entire team is blocking for you. Okay. You have to evade and go through holes that are designed to be available for you.
Yeah. You're simplifying way too much.
I know. And I didn't want to go there, but that's the first time that I've had that thought in my life where it's like, these guys, like, if there's one position that is set up to have the most success, fundamentally, the running back has it the easiest.
Yes, the play design-wise, yes, they should be the most prepared and designed to have the most success. But it just doesn't work that way. Most teams can't even run the ball.
But some teams are bad at scheming, right?
I know that's what I was going to say is like even if you're good at scheming, sometimes your players just can't execute, and you're missing your assignments, and you forgot to chip that guy before you went and got that guy, and now the whole play is dead because you screwed up. Like everything, it can't be understated or overstated. I meant to say overstated enough how much has to go right every football play.
I think one thing with that is if you have guys that, like, everybody that is in the NFL is capable of a 0.5 second chip block on somebody. Blocking majority of the time, or the majority of blocking, is effort and is positioning, technique. It's paying attention to the little things. And if your head coach or whatever coach is holding guys accountable, everybody is capable of doing it. All right.
Yes.
Denver Broncos. My thought was it's from Sean Payton's perspective and from the Broncos, it is surprising to see them put all of their eggs into the Russell Wilson basket. Both sides. Like, we know that you guys watched what happened last year, and you're doubling down. That is a red flag to me. I like the Broncos this year. I think they got a lot going on. Their defense is elite.
So you're
They got
saying your
stars.
red flag is Russell Wilson?
And the judgment. We'll see how it plays out. But if this goes wrong, it will be the how the hell did you guys not see that this was going to happen? If it goes right, they're geniuses. It's super high risk.
And think about the domino effect, right? Of Brandon Staley keeping his job,
Brandon Staley.
because I think that's where Sean Payton would have ended up.
Oh, yeah.
So
You
the
heard that on Bill
Chargers,
Simmons
yeah.
from that old episode we listened to? Yeah.
My red flag was Russell Wilson's stats last year. I guess I didn't have it.
Under 3K.
Well, no, it's just
Under 15
QBR was like a 38. It's so bad. Barely in the top 30. Can't have that again. He has a good team around him, just need to do his job and they'll have a good season. Not great. Their division is tough, but they'll have a good season. Probably not going to make the playoffs. But what is Russ's strength? He was always good at escaping the pocket. I think they just need to get better at him getting the ball out of his hands. They have Sutton, Judy. Who else? Dolchich.
Javonte Williams.
They should be okay. Russ made some confounding mistakes last year. If he could just clean it up a little bit, they should get at least like 7 wins.
Yeah, I'm hoping for more. I want to see that whole thing go well.
No, I want them to do well, but I think like low end to like average, like they should get 7 wins this year.
Yeah. All right. The Los Angeles Chargers. We've already mentioned Brandon Staley like 4 times on this podcast, and we've talked about it in depth. We know that they blew a 27-point lead in the playoffs last year to the Jags. My red flag was that they got these stars in the offseason last year on the defensive side, and their defense was bad.
But they didn't play, but yeah.
Okay, they were hurt at mixed times, so they weren't able to fully gel, I guess, and they lost Drew Tranquil.
True. He was awesome.
But
Hayward should be, he should be healthy and very good next year. Like he always
Hayward?
Has. The cornerback they got. That was the cornerback.
Asante Samuel?
No, they already had him.
They signed a cornerback?
Casey Hayward, the guy.
He's a corner? I thought he was a pass rusher.
That's Cameron Hayward. He's from the Steelers.
Yeah.
So they have Hayward, Samuel, Khalil Mack barely played last year. Totally forgot about that one. I was checking the Bears roster.
Yeah,
I totally forgot. I was like, Khalil Mack was still on the Bears last year? What? But their defense should be a lot better. But when I think of the Chargers, I think, and I looked these up, obviously, 20th in opponents' yards per game, 23rd in opponents' points per game. Bad to average defense, 30th in rushing yards per game. So their defense is mid/bad, and their run game is terrible. That's what I think of when I think of the Chargers, and they need to fix that.
I don't know off the top of my head, or if I ever knew who their offensive coordinator was last year, but they snagged Kellen Moore from the Cowboys, and he will be running the show on the offensive side this season. I believe he's proven that he knows how to scheme up runs. I mean, he had Zeke for a while, and then Tony Pollard last year was able to explode. Dude, I wonder how much of it the Kellen Moore absence is going to affect Tony Pollard's fantasy stock this year. But that's another conversation for another day. So we'll see. We'll see if Justin Herbert and he has to be like the highest actual potential of any quarterback in the NFL. Even given what he's had so far, and for him to throw for 4,000 yards every year and be on pace to break every record known to man at the quarterback position, they have to make the playoffs. They have to do something. They should be in the class with Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Kansas City. And they just aren't because of coaching, I guess. Raiders. What do you got for the Raiders, big bud?
No reason to have expectation this year. They had a much better roster last year, and they still sucked. Tough division, sure, but they're either running Jimmy G or Stidham out there.
I thought Stidham was on another team.
Is he?
I feel like after the showing that he had last year, why would they not give him a chance?
Yeah. But they have that Jimmy G insurance. And whatever they might do on the offensive side of the field, their defense will give it up on the other end. That was their story last year.
Perfectly said. My thing is, this whole franchise is sketchy. They ditch Derek Carr, do him dirty, really. Jimmy G fails his physical. That deal almost looked like it wasn't going to go through. Josh Jacobs in the offseason. Did he get paid too? Because he was going to hold out. Oh. Yeah, he was like, I remember at the end of the year last year in the post-game interviews, he was like, I don't want to fucking be here. Davante Adams vocalized in the offseason this year that he doesn't want to be there, or that he doesn't believe that the direction that the franchise is going in is a good one. Red flag central. Josh McDaniels has never had a successful season as a head coach.
I just feel bad for some of those free agents that go and sign somewhere and it falls apart not even a year later. Davante Adams, namely. Yeah. It's like you just wanted to go and compete and win, and you thought the Raiders had a good situation. And looking at their roster last year, there was no reason why they shouldn't have succeeded, except for the fact that all of their first-round picks from the past, 4 or 5 years had completely busted out.
Dude, also, they kind of pulled the rug out from underneath Davante Adams. Like, oh, come play with our team. Your college best friend quarterback is here. Come play with us. Help us win. Oh, we're gonna get rid of you. We're gonna get rid of that guy. The next season, and you're gonna be stuck here. And he's like, I don't fucking like the Raiders. I was here for him. Anyway, yeah, red flag central. I think that those are as obvious as they could possibly get. Moving on to the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills. What do we got here, bud?
What else is there to talk about?
Besides what? Josh Allen's inability to make good decisions?
When you put it that way, I guess I can't really argue, huh?
No.
Here we go. Here comes the absolute takedown. Do you have something?
Okay, so I think the Josh Allen one I've harped on enough. So mine was, will the inability to scheme the run lead to the downfall of the Bills?
Now, I looked up the Bills' running numbers. Not bad.
I know what you're going to say.
They're not that bad. Josh Allen. Yeah, exactly. He carries yards per carry. 100%. I wish I could look up just running back stats for a certain team.
I did it.
Really? Devin Singletary was fucking terrible.
Well, I didn't look up each stat, but if you were to take just the running backs, Bills running backs, and count that as their entire team rushing, they're second to last in the league.
Yeah. Just take Josh Allen out of the averages. But yeah. Their run game needs to get going. Hopefully Damian Harris can boost a little bit of that. It seems like it's a scheme thing though. and Joshy turnovers. It's got to end. Or they're in the same spot. They're in limbo. They're that team that should be really good but isn't that good. That's a worse spot to be in than a team that wasn't supposed to be good that overachieved.
Dude, one thing I failed to mention when we were talking about the Chargers, that playoff game that they lost, did you know that they only ran the ball 7 times in the second half?
The Chargers game?
Up 27-0. They ran the ball 7 times. And it's like half of the concept of that game could have been it's not only the Chargers against you. I mean, the Jaguars against you, but it's the Jaguars against the clock. Just run the clock. They have to score 5 touchdowns to beat you, or 4 touchdowns.
I think we
to
were
beat you?
really hot after that game. Just like, how is Brandon Staley still the coach? Being like, and I forgot a lot of the reasons why that made me so angry. That made me like, get Justin Herbert a good friggin' coach. Get that defense a good coach. And it's like, oh yeah, that's another thing that popped up. Oh yeah. I totally forgot about that massive comeback like 2 weeks ago. And it's been brought up like 3 times since.
All right, well, the Bills, it just holds back your offense so much. Like even the Chiefs last year with Pacheco were able to figure out a way to run effectively. It's not like they were pumping out these 25 carries for one guy, workhorse, but they were able to run the ball effectively and scheme for plays that were possession plays if they were not run plays. So, and that's the other thing, dude. Diggs and Gabe Davis for the Bills they're outside receivers. Their slot guys were definitely not up to par last year between McKenzie and Jamison Crowder.
And
so you're not getting those short possession plays.
And you would think for young quarterbacks all around the league that the short intermediate passing game over the middle would be awesome. And that's why we thought Njoku for Cleveland would be really good for Brissett and Evan Ingram for Daniel Jones. And we think that these tight ends should be making these massive impacts. And Dawson Knox had a very, very underwhelming year. They need to get him or Dalton Kincaid into their cycle, their repertoire. That
overall they need to be more effective.
Yeah.
And you know what the crazy thing is? They went 13-3 last year. But I looked at their schedule. They only had one opponent last year during the regular season that won a playoff game. So that's 8 teams that win a playoff game each year, at least one.
Do you remember how good the Bills looked in the beginning of the year? First 2 games, they ran through the Rams in the season opener.
I think they outscored their opponents. They had 72 on offense. It was 31-10 in week 1 against the Rams, and it was 41-7 against the Titans in week 2. Or the Vikings, no.
I think it was the Titans.
The Vikings game they lost. That was that famous Justin Jefferson game. All right.
Miami Dolphins. Tua.
I tried to just go outside of that because it's such an obvious red flag that everybody talks about all the time.
All right. I still think we need to talk about it. How many? Okay, we're not going to break out the schedule or anything. Tua is healthy. How many games do they win?
12.
Okay. They could win more.
Yeah.
Depending on how easy their schedule is.
I think
if he gets hurt, it's
a wrap. I mean, you can't run back what happened last year.
They definitely finish behind the Patriots.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to say no, because my thing is, it's not a red flag. This is why we went thoughts and red flags. I think their defense finishes in the top 10 in most categories this season.
See, that is a take. Something we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing it. They gave up 38 to the Ravens, 40 to the Jets, and 32 to the Bears last year.
Yeah.
They added Bradley Chubb and Jalen Ramsey.
I think what is kind of a a disadvantage for them is when you have so many big plays, it shortens your time of possession,
Yep.
and the other team gets a lot more opportunities to score.
And
And
that's
they don't
why
have a run game.
that's why a lot of teams that have a run game are so successful is because they number one, they kill clock. Number two, just like you brought up, um,
Keeps your team on the field.
keeps the defense tired on the other side.
Facts.
So when you got Tyreek hitting 2nd and 10, second play of the possession, 79-yard slant touchdowns, he's tired. The defense on the other side isn't. And when they come out next time, they'll shut you down. You want to keep their defense on the field. It's the name of the game.
Yeah, like the Giants last year had a lot of success with those 10-minute drives, especially in the back end of the season. They were able to pick apart, like, yeah, it's like, okay, the Giants weren't that good at the down the field plays. They need that over the top receiver. They draft Jalen Hyatt. Great. We kind of solved that if he ends up playing. But the key to their success last year was just Daniel Jones just getting in these, like, intermediate throws, short throws, running the ball. So, all right. Patriots. My question is, will Bill O'Brien actually fix New England's offense? Like you want to talk about a team, like you think the Titans don't have enough explosiveness on the offensive side? Mac Jones might as well be a clone of Ryan Tannehill, at least so far. That's number one. Number two, their receivers are Juju, Tyquan Thornton, and Devontae Parker. I heard on a podcast today that the Patriots re-signed Devontae Parker to a 3-year guaranteed deal, and he has finished dead last in separation of all qualified receivers in the NFL. It's just like, what the hell are you guys doing? And then they let Damian Harris go. They retained Ramondre. But what is Bill O'Brien going to be able to do with this group? I don't get it.
It's definitely a bottom tier group, but I think it's serviceable. Like you got a couple NFL guys in there. Juju's not going to be making waves as wide receiver one in New England, but I think we could have an above average year from Gesicki. I think they're going to be a run heavy, a power team. Mac Jones is going to be a system quarterback, a signal caller at the maximum. He's not going to wow anybody with any of his physical traits, but I think the Patriots are going to be a really feisty team. Their defense is going to be back.
Their defense has to be top 5 for them to win games.
Yeah.
And it might very well be. Looking at Bill O'Brien's career history, he was the OC for the Patriots in the late 2000s up until 2011. So he was borderline the greatest offense in the history of the game. And then he was
I think he went to the Texans.
He went to the Texans with Deshaun. But that team had Deshaun, DeAndre Hopkins, Arian Foster, and Will Fuller. Like, that team was explosive. Explosive.
I'm not going to give you that.
What are you talking about, dude? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?
I'm not going to give you that.
It wasn't explosive? DeAndre Hopkins in his prime, Will Fuller was Deshaun Jackson. He was him. Over the top threat. Arian Foster led the league in rushing.
When?
1 year. I don't know.
1 year. I remember I had him in fantasy 1 year, and he was bad. He had 4 years where he went over 1,000 yards. Would you say 2014 was one of the Deshaun years?
Yes.
Okay, he had 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. Like 13 games.
Just saying, dude.
Okay, I think injuries was the name of his game.
Yes.
Okay. I never really thought Arian Foster was that good of a running back, but okay. That just changed my mind, those numbers I just saw.
So no, And then the other time he was with Alabama for 2 years. That's where he was the last two
Yeah, that's where he
seasons.
had to go recover his name from being the GM and the coach of the Texans and brutally killing both jobs.
Yeah, they went, I think, 5-11 in his last year when Deshaun and DeAndre were still there. I don't get that at all. But do I think that he could somehow make this shit work? No. Do I think this is a Belichick trying to save his job play? Yes. Going back to what he knows works. Um. All right, I'm good. Jets.
Real quick on this division, and I guess it'll go into kind of launching into the Jets conversation, but this division is top three, top four in football, difficulty wise, but it is like a couple injuries or just like a couple situations, a couple games going the wrong way from being like all hell breaks loose. Like Aaron Rodgers could suck, or the Jets just get off to such a bad start that they can't recover. Jets might finish bottom of the pack. Tua gets hurt. Dolphins might finish bottom of the pack. You know what? It's
Patriots.
like, dude, we look at the AFC every year for the past 2, 3 years, and we're like, oh my God, look at all these teams. Look at all these young quarterbacks. Look at all these franchises that are on the up and up. Like, there's like 3 or 4 teams that shouldn't make it to the playoffs that do from the NFC that wouldn't be able to beat AFC bottom tier playoff teams. But the thing that sucks about sports is friggin' injuries, man. And as much as we want to see um Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, Tua, Lawrence, and 2 more young guys, we're probably not going to get it. And we're probably going to get some team that doesn't deserve like the friggin' Mac Jones Pats in like the 7 seed.
Yeah, that would really suck for everyone involved. For the Jets, though, my biggest red flag is it seems like the defense is on lock. It seems like the playmakers are going to be able to do their thing. Rodgers has a deep history of winning in the regular season and holding up his end of the bargain. But my thing is the head coach doesn't really have that deep of a resume. He's been the defensive quality coach like 12 out of his 20 years as a coach in the NFL or a coach in football. And he was a linebackers coach like 2 years before he was a head coach. He was a DC for the 49ers for like 3 years. My thing is, like, is he the right guy for the job? Like, I don't see it. I don't see it.
I feel like his name was bandied about. Wow. Like he was the next like top dog, like a lot of these young head coaches are. But like he came from the San Fran system. It was like a D'Amico's Ryan situation. Like that's who D'Amico Ryans was. He just got a head coaching job from being San Fran's D coordinator. Robert Sala, I feel like he was more of like this one of those intimidating bald guys. And now I feel like he's a soft bald guy.
Yeah. It just seems like he's not like when I watch him talk and when I hear people talk about him, like it's not the Dayball command of the room or of the team or of the situation. It's not the Vrabel, it's not the Mike Tomlin, like where these like sturdy, like dominant alpha guys. It just seems like he's like there and he's not sure like what's of himself. I don't know.
But for me, it's the offensive line. I don't think we've ever been shown in the past couple of years that the Jets have or are going to have a good offensive line. Mekhi Becton can't stay on the field. They have a couple other guys that are solid, but like if you look at any offensive line rankings, whether it's PFF or anybody else, like the Jets are either like 17th or lower. I saw one where they were like 13th or 12th, and it's like, where is that coming from? Like, who? I don't know. It's probably all because of their run game, but
Yeah, I mean, I remember Zach Wilson and Mike White getting sacked a bunch, like brutal 7 sack games last year.
And if Rodgers is getting hit all the time, all next year, that's just another thing working against them.
Yeah, you don't want dump off god Aaron Rodgers to be running the team, but dude, quick shout out to PFF. I remember when they kind of started. It was like this new, like, hey guys, like we actually figured out like we're throwing away passer rating, and we're gonna create a system where we actually watch every play that these guys do, and we rate them based off these new categories. And now they're kind of the standard. Like you're not necessarily going to look at anything outside of what PFF does when it comes to rating players because of the system that they've done. So just a quick shout out to them.
Yeah. Credentials, credibility.
AFC North, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Offensive line again.
I have, can Pittsburgh find a way to consistently feed Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Najee Harris, Pat Fryermuth, Jalen Warren? They got a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of explosiveness on this team, and Pickett is primed for a great sophomore year, but can they get the ball into those playmakers' hands? It didn't seem like they were able to do that last year.
If they can get Kenny the time, and I think Kenny got better later in the year at getting rid of the ball quicker, and he can be really accurate. Like sometimes, like I think at the end of the year, it was probably like week like 14 or 15. He had like 2 drives in a row in like the fourth quarter where it was like, oh my God, they're gonna win this game. Just because he was making absolute dot throws. Dude, did you shave one side of your mustache? When did you do that? I've been looking at that like what's going on over there? Can I just not see it?
Dude.
Like, what's wrong with my eyes right now?
It took like 7 hours for you to notice.
7 hours.
Yeah.
You did that as soon as you woke up?
No, I did that actually after we cleaned the garage and I took a shower. Maybe not 7 hours, but definitely like 3. You've been looking me dead in the face for 3 hours.
I like it's not something I even comprehended because I was just like, why would somebody do that?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
you also don't have like
it's not dark.
Yeah, it's not like the most contrasting. Anyway, Steelers run game also ranked 25th in yards per rush last year. They didn't have a solid run game. Najee was expected. I remember, dude, the fantasy drafts going into last year. Like me and Sharif were talking about Najee Harris the whole week, and we're like,
he was ranked 8th. I remember
because we were back-to-back picks at like 7 and 8, and he was just like, he's like, I'm gonna take him. I was like, dude, please don't. Like neither of us got him, and it ended up being a godsend.
Dude, remember that game when we had or I had Pittsburgh to cover against the Browns? And I remember in the fourth quarter of that game, the announcer, there's a primetime game. I forget who was announcing it, but the announcers just kept saying, like, it looks like they're scheming up this play for Deontay Johnson on the outside on this double move. It was like a zag route, and they're just not throwing him the ball. Like, it just seems like this is discombobulated and that nobody really knows what's going on, and he's open, and they're just not throwing him the ball. So that's where my point is coming from. And that was Trubisky quarterbacking that game, and I understand,
totally
Pickett had, he had 12 weeks to play last year. I think they sat him after the 4th week.
Shout out to you for guessing the exact week that he was going to get started.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I was pretty good with quarterbacks last year, to say. But that's where my take stems from, is they need to get the ball in these guys' hands because there's a lot of explosiveness. I'm really high on Deontay Johnson as a talent. Pickens obviously is different than everybody else. Najee was amazing his rookie year. He's an Alabama running back. Like, those guys have huge successes in the NFL. And Freiermuth is 30. Bengals.
The Bungles. The run game. A lot of these I made it way too simple, but it's just another offense. Like, there's no team that's going to have every facet of the game completely dominated except for the Eagles this past year. And some teams just have that one weakness, and it's like the Bengals have a solid defense. Ramo, whatever that
No clue. Never.
defensive coordinator for the Bengals that was supposed to get like all the head coaching jobs this year, and he decided to stay with the Bengals. They have a really solid defense. Obviously, they have Joe Burrow, considered a top 3 quarterback in the league. Really good receiving core. They even have a solid running back. They have a solid O-line. Their run game is terrible, though. Bottom 3 in yards per rush. 28th in rushing yards per game, 28th in rushing play percentage.
Yeah, dude, I'm not as worried about it as I am with the Bills because Joe Burrow is a much better quarterback when it comes to taking care of the ball. And I guess reading the defense, like something is there because Joe Mixon is talented.
What does that have to do with what does Joe Burrow protecting the ball better than Josh Allen have to do with the run game? Joe Burrow doesn't run.
Don't run. No, I'm talking about throwing picks. When you don't run the ball, it presents the natural occurrence of more pass plays. Pass plays are more risky than running the ball, and if you're able to still not turn the ball over, even with the increased volume of pass plays, I consider that kind of covering up a little bit of the fact that you don't run the ball.
All right.
My thing for the Bengals this year is what makes this season different as a red flag. It kind of seems like they are satisfied with where their roster is and where their organization is. They keep getting like to the playoffs like easily and losing. So my thing is like, what makes this season different? Bengals, because we expect you to win. We expect you to.
I expect a Cincinnati, Kansas City AFC chip every year now.
But will they win it? You know what I'm saying? Like what is different? Did they do anything different that makes me think that like the Eagles, dude? The Eagles are like, all right, we're good. We know we're good. Let's go out and fucking get better.
The Eagles were undeniable. The year before that, they were nowhere close to as good as that team. Nothing was pointing towards being that good.
I know. I'm just saying, like, when you have an inkling of something, you should go after it. And they did it. Again.
It's also play style. I think it's much easier to be a powerhouse rushing team than a dominant through-the-air team. But it's really, really tough to do both. And Jalen Hurts and the Eagles took advantage of like a 65% rush play percentage where you have to prepare so much more as a defender for a rush play than a pass play. And it's physically taxing. The defensive line, I don't know, I'm not going to get into it, but it's just play after play of absolutely like car crashes.
All right, Cleveland Browns. My thing is the red flag has to be Deshaun Watson looked despicable last year.
38.3 QBR. 6 games.
So outside of that, I really like this roster. I really do. I think they should have probably added maybe another receiver. I think their number 2 receiver is Donovan Peoples-Jones. But Amari Cooper is definitely a number 1. David Njoku is a specimen of a human being with speed in the middle of the field. They have Chubb.
They got Elijah Moore.
Oh.
From the Jets.
I don't know if that's good. And then the defense. The defense has some playmakers on it. I think it's just all on Deshaun, and that's kind of scary for them. But I think if Deshaun returns to the form that he was at Houston, they might be able to sneak into the playoffs, depending on how the rest of the league goes, obviously, because the AFC is packed. But I wouldn't be surprised if they won 11 games.
Yeah, his QBR was so bad last year, ranked 27th, and that was just above Russell Wilson and Mac Jones.
Yuck.
And that was just below Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan.
That makes me so happy to hear that Aaron Rodgers is in that class that you just said.
You just like there was no precedent to Deshaun Watson playing as poorly as he did last year. Seriously, he's never played that bad. Ever. I remember when he was at Clemson. I was like, this guy's a stud. And then I would use the Texans like every year in Madden because he had the best like able to throw and mobility / speed.
And they had Arian Foster.
Yeah, that's also why I thought he was mid because he wasn't very good in Madden. Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson, dude. All right, Ravens. What's your red flag?
It has to be Lamar's injury history. Their rush game and defense are solid every year, and now that Lamar has gotten his long-awaited quote-unquote bag, it is just his health and an improved pass game that is holding this team back from being a contender.
Yeah, so they go out and get Odell. Mark Andrews is still manning the middle. They have Bateman. And do they have another receiver? I think it's just
Zay Flowers.
Oh yeah, dude.
So it's Odell, Zay
I'm
Flowers,
sorry.
and Mark Andrews. And then their run game.
And Bateman. I'm high on Bateman, dude.
Okay. I mean,
Yikes.
dude, it's just like the Giants receiver core. It's like there's a bunch of names. We'll see what happens.
My red flag is kind of off the beaten path, not something that comes with talent, but something that comes with the attitude and the emotion in the locker room. Lamar Jackson was a no-show in the 2022 playoff game that they almost won if it wasn't for that overstretch by Huntley and the fumble return touchdown, 99 yards. They probably would have won that game because Cincinnati could not move the ball. They were struggling, and that touchdown, I think either like the Ravens, I think were down 2 or 3, and they were on the 1-yard line of the Bengals, and it was the late fourth quarter. Like they were about to take the lead with a field goal or a touchdown.
Who scored that 99-yard? Was it Hubbard or Hendrickson?
I think it was Hubbard.
I think that could be like a huge like NFL question. Which white D end scored? They both were 90 numbers. Both last names starts with H.
They're both massive white men. All right. So yeah, my thing is the locker room. Like it's like, oh yeah, Lamar, you're back. Oh, it's been a while. Yeah, how you been? Everything's good. All right. It's not like what's good, my boy. Like like how, like so happy you're back. It's none of that, dude. It can't be that for everybody. There has to be resentments in that locker room. Resentments lead to lack of trust. Lack of trust in team sports is a cripple. It cripples teams. I wouldn't be surprised if they start slow or if they don't win in the playoffs because of the lack of trust and resentment.
Teams that can avoid like the whole salary arbitration / contract disagreements are much better off. Like you don't hear about Patrick Mahomes causing a stir.
I mean,
He deserves that money.
In his first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, he deserves that money. He went and took what the market value was for him. Lamar, all year centering it about himself. I don't even know if he's actually injured. It seems like he doesn't want to re-injure himself so that he can never play again. He's just looking forward to getting that contract. It seemed like all this time since the MVP, it's been, hey, I'm an MVP, pay me. And this year, we're going to see if he's worth anything. Seriously, dude. I saw that one run against the Dolphins when he kind of just like broke free for like a 60, 70-yard touchdown. And it's like, well, that's the Lamar that we can have. But Lamar against the Giants was bad. He was
who's
bad.
really good in that game? You're never going to guess who I'm going to say.
Defensively for the Giants?
Who was good offensively for the Ravens?
Oh, Kenyon Drake.
Yeah. I remember that dude ripped off like 2 or 3 like 25-yard runs, and we're just like, and it was always at that moment where we really thought that we could take the game by the balls.
It was like third down.
Yeah.
Third and like mid.
Yeah. And he ends up ripping it down the sideline and cutting up field. All right. Yeah, so something to look out for is if there's drama in the Ravens locker room. All right, moving on to the NFC.
NFC time.
NFC time. Starting off with the NFC North. The Green Bay Packers.
The Pack.
This one is definitely an off the beaten path as well. Jordan Love is going to get the start. And the Packers missed the playoffs last year, but I think if you're going to restart your organization with a new quarterback, I wouldn't be surprised if Matt LaFleur is on the hot seat this year. Like, why do we still need you to stick around if we're kind of rewriting the ship?
Okay, so what is the right move for management to do in that kind of situation where you're like a championship caliber coach, I guess, or you've failed us, or our quarterback has failed us over the past couple of years that you've been around, going 13-3 and then fizzling out in the playoffs, never really being a threat to win a Super Bowl. And now that we're kind of rebuilding with this new quarterback, do we need you around? What kind of guy do they hire? A never been head coach before? A bridge coach?
That's a separate conversation. But you know what would have been a nice play there is a D'Amico Ryans to the Packers like that. Like the most famous like football team ever, pretty much. Like that would have been, dude, stop. The Packers won like 2 out of the first 3 championships. You want to talk about like having fans since the beginning? And they've had Favre and they've had Rodgers. That team, anyway. Yeah, that's really all I got for the Packers though. Like if they go 7-10, 8-9, like just start fresh with a new guy. Matt LaFleur will immediately land as an OC or quarterbacks coach for another team.
So I wrote no expectations for a lot of these teams, and it goes even further than that with this one, because LaFleur, like, that's the only guy that should be sweating. No expectations for the rest of the team. Jordan Love, clean slate. Let's see what the kid can do. I'm really excited to see what he can do. I'm not going to go out of my way to put on a Green Bay game. Probably have Red Zone on until prime time, but
Chicago Bears. I feel like an obvious red flag here is their defense, and Justin Fields is a thrower. Like, we know that you can run 60 yards down the field. We know. But did that translate to winning games last year? Absolutely not.
yeah, and their defense being so bad. They put up 32, like I said, on the Dolphins last year. That was a shootout. Shouldn't have been a shootout. Either of those teams should have been able to shut down the other offense with a good defense, but their defenses were each so bad.
Dude, you want to know, like, tell me if you remember. Do you remember the final score of the Cowboys-Bears game?
Did the Bears win? 20-12.
49-28. They scored 28 points on the Cowboys, but they gave up 7 touchdowns. And the touchdowns came like by the end of the third quarter. They got fucking rocked.
Am I overreacting about Justin Fields as a quarterback?
In what nature?
Is it that his team is very bad around him? Or am I right, do you think? Or do you share the opinion that he's not an NFL quarterback?
I cannot believe that there isn't a single team that has 2 of these guys.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you were the Bears and you had Justin Fields and you drafted Anthony Richardson. And it's like, what now if you have both of those guys on the field at the same time for 50% of your plays? One guy running a route. Like, treat them like football players. It doesn't have to be this, like, oh, you're the quarterback, you are untouchable. And if you have two guys on the roster that are capable of being a quarterback, now it's not so much of if you get hurt, our season's over. You got two guys. And there's so many. That's like such a prototype that's so common these days. Like, why isn't there like some type of backup plan where you could also use it in like a dynamic way? Like Taysom Hill,
But your passing game isn't as prominent. That's okay.
maybe
obviously.
not.
But okay.
If they both can throw, the trick plays. Don't even get me started with that. What about a Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields read option?
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, it's ridiculous. I know. Like the amount of hire you. I mean, the thing is, these guys still have to be able to be a quarterback. How many other teams have, like, talking about a rock toter?
What the hell are you talking about?
Toting the rock. Guys that carry the ball. Talking about
Toting rock. I got you. Let's move on.
whatever. Quarterbacks that can do that very well. And we'll even throw Taysom Hill into that conversation. There's maybe like 8 guys that are pretty much just super athletic running backs that can kind of pass. Lamar, Jalen.
Dude, all right.
Justin
don't go too
Fields.
far. Don't go too far. Don't go too far. Don't call Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts super athletic running backs. That's too far. There's 32 guys.
Okay.
There's 32 in the world that start.
Okay.
You took that too far, dude.
Okay, I took that too far, and I've been getting into like weird conversations about the positions. But dude, talking about some of the best athletes in the entire NFL. Talking about those guys.
Yeah, I mean, if your hand-eye coordination combined with your arm strength, combined with your speed, combined with your athleticism mentally, yeah, dude, they are, yes.
So
Some of the best athletes.
so you're not going to be able to get 2 of those guys in a backfield, okay? That was my
Why not? Why not?
Because
The
they're
Bears
not-
had the opportunity to take Anthony Richardson.
When did they pick this past draft?
Well, they traded the one overall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
No,
so they
not
didn't.
exactly.
So they didn't
had
have
the opportunity.
So they didn't have a chance. Dude, why get greedy? Why too much?
Greedy.
Okay.
That's an opportunity to change the sport. Anyway,
See, I wanted to introduce my conversation about the Colts and the Bears aiming for like an Eagles offense where it's power rushing and QB runs 60 to 65% of the time and have some success on offense, and the Falcons too. Well, with their running backs, not necessarily Desmond Ritter, but
he can run.
he can run. I think he'll
Not
have
power, but yeah.
We'll get to the Falcons, but we'll get to the Falcons. Big problem too is their defense stripped bare after they lost Roquan Smith to the Ravens. They ranked 29th in opponents' yards per game and last in opponents' points per game. We touched on how bad their defense is. Let's move off of the Bears.
I agree. Vikings. Defense. That offense showed that they can score. They do not have Dalvin Cook returning, and they lost Adam Thielen. KJ Osborne is still there. They drafted Jordan Addison. But Kirk is still there. JJ's still there. So, and TJ Hawk. That guy's a
TJ
beast. Yeah, dude, it's all about the defense. They, like, the Giants. The Giants receivers were wide open last year.
Concerningly.
Wide open in that playoff game. And in terms of stopping the run, I mean, DJ had over 75 yards rushing by himself. Saquon had like a 35-yard touchdown run and probably like 75, 80 yards. The Giants themselves had like 400 yards, maybe 450 of total offense. Like, and they don't have any type of explosiveness anywhere. Saquon was it. He gave you one play. So, dude.
And that's just talking about one game, but
Yeah.
all year.
Destroyed by the Eagles. Destroyed by...
They had to come back 30 points against the Colts.
Yeah, and the Colts are horrible. That was Nick Foles.
It may have been. Who cares?
Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely their defense. And I definitely thought that they had some names last year. Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith, Harrison Smith, Patrick Peterson should retire. I don't know if he did. That was a rough showing by him.
Who was burning him all game?
Dude, he was either Hodgins or Slayton. Like those two guys. I think Slayton had like 90 yards on like 6 catches or something.
Could have had 105.
Is that what you took? 100?
No, that's that dropped pass on the drag route from this 3rd and 16.
Mm.
I like the way the game ended with
Yeah.
Kirk throwing a dump off to Hawkinson in the flat.
Yeah.
4th and long.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Primetime Kirk. It was a
Couldn't
day
believe
game.
it. Thought that they ran a play on offsides and it was a free play and he just didn't want to die. Nope, that was real.
Detroit Lions.
So my thing is Jared Goff has had amazing seasons in the NFL. Like last year with the Lions and that 1 year with the Rams where he was in the MVP conversation. But can he play the same way that he did last year? They still got Ben Johnson as their OC, but they totally switched out their running backs last year. Swift had a great year the year before. Jamal Williams led the league in touchdowns last year. They draft Jahmyr Gibbs in the top 10.
Oof.
Yeah, he's like a much smaller back. And then they signed David Montgomery from Chicago, who David Montgomery, his Wikipedia says, considered one of the wealthiest players in the world.
So random.
Yeah.
No, I definitely went with like what was the story of last year? What's the number one thing that they have to work on? Kind of red flags with a lot of these, and for me it was defense. Week 1 gave up they lost a game that they scored 35 points in. They lost a game that they scored 45 against the Seahawks. They scored 31 against the Bears and they won by 1 point. They gave up 37 points to the Steve Wilkes Panthers. Tough.
Do you remember why they lost that game? I mean, they beat the Bears by 1.
Was that the Justin Fields pick or fumble or?
That was Justin Fields running like 70 yards down the field through the whole team to score a touchdown, and then the guy missed the extra point to tie the game. And then the Lions gave the ball back to the Bears, and the Bears were right on the doorstep, and they lost.
Wow.
You know, it sucks to suck when you suck.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Giants were there. Past couple of years.
I can't believe you just took it to a random Giants dark place. No one asked for that.
Dude, that 64-yarder by
Yeah, Greg Joseph? Tell me that's a snipe.
Oh.
For the Vikings?
I'm talking about the Eagles guy. It was like 2-3 years ago.
Jake Elliott
hit like a 62-yarder at the buzzer.
Nothing like Eagles kickers murdering the Giants.
Yeah.
David Akers got us.
Even Washington the past 2 years. Remember we had that blocked one, or Dexter Lawrence didn't jump and we blocked it, and then they called an offsides, and then they got to re-kick it and they hit it. That was 2 years ago. Anyway, the Lions have some work to do on defense. And really interesting, I think you were getting into it a little bit, was, I mean, they lose Swift and Jamal Williams. It's going to be really interesting to see how, because if I was going to describe the Lions offseason, strange. Offloading or not re-signing Swift and Williams, at least Williams was one of the best parts of your team last year. And at the same time, drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, strange offseason.
Yeah. No, they who's their tight end?
Zylstra.
Once again, who's their tight end?
That's
Zylstra?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a person?
He has a brother on the team.
That's pretty cool.
Another Zylstra. All right, let's move on. NFC East.
The Philadelphia Eagles lost both their coordinators. So as
Yeah, same thing. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, it's just like we know how talented their roster is, but the guys pulling the strings are elsewhere, Arizona and Indianapolis. And who knows, dude? Apparently Nick Sirianni is just like a strength coach. He just kind of fires everybody
He's
up.
the vibe guy.
And he's like a fan. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
He kind of has that like fan like just oblivion. He has no idea what's going on. He's an idiot. But
We all hate him.
but
Everyone hates him.
Philly loves that guy.
All right, but the Eagles should be exactly what they were last year. If
Fully
everything
expect
goes-
them to be right
yeah,
back in the same spot.
Hurts should be better.
That offense, you can't really screw it up. That defense, they re-signed a lot more guys than we thought they would.
Yeah.
They lost both those linebackers, though.
They lost the linebackers. They lost Javon Hargrave to the 49ers.
Yikes.
And but dude, outside of that, they lost CJ Gardner-Johnson to the Lions.
I feel like they never have to worry about D tackles for the next like 5 years, unless
Yeah.
they have a whole bunch of
They
injuries. But,
overdrafted defensive tackles all in the first round.
and they
or
were
second
all really, really, really good.
Yeah, from Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah, great. I love that my team is finally starting to come back into the power rankings, finally starting to raise up after a long time of just being super mid or sucking.
Yeah.
And our division is the best in the league by far.
Yeah, even the Commanders are not going to be an easy win. Speaking of the Commanders, Ron Rivera and Sam Howell are my biggest red flags. It's just like Ron Rivera has never, outside of that 15-1 Cam Newton MVP season with the Panthers, this guy hasn't really had a lot of success in terms of winning football games. And, he had that, cancer situation where it's just horrible. And then he comes back and you think that the team's going to be rejuvenated, kind of like rallying behind him. Not really the case. Taylor Heineke had to do that. And they benched him for Carson Wentz. And now the guy that they didn't even want to play over those two guys, Sam Howell, is getting the start. And the team is like, we knew he was going to be a starter all along.
Yeah, I definitely hate that. I hate that take.
From me or just
No, from them.
Okay.
Yeah. But still excited to see Sam Howell.
Yeah?
I'm excited to see what happens.
I think he looks like a nocturnal animal. Yeah.
I think he played week 18. He didn't have great numbers, but I think I didn't think he was that bad. So I'm gonna see what happens. And
All right, here's a random sidebar question. One sentence, explain to me who has the better career, Desmond Ridder or Sam Howell?
Dude, I hate these hypotheticals. I have no idea. I haven't done nearly enough research on either of these
Dude, this
guys.
isn't your life depends on it
I
question.
know, but like, if somebody listens to this,
Just
like,
say Desmond Ridder.
that's just what you want to hear.
I know, it is.
You know what? More experience. I'll go with the more experienced guy.
Well said. Last team. No, just kidding. Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy. Why are you still employed? Dak Prescott. Why? Why? Highest paid player in the history of the Dallas Cowboys organization. Team with a lot of money, a lot of fans, and a lot of money. Not a lot of wins in the playoffs. What's it called? Yikes. Yeah, dude. Dak led the league in picks last year. They lost Zeke, who's a cornerstone of their franchise for the past couple of years. Their defense did get a lot better, and it was already fantastic. But my thing is like, is Mike McCarthy the guy? I don't know. Is Dak the guy? I don't know. I don't believe so at all. I think if you put any of the top quarterbacks in the league on the Cowboys, that team is by far and away the favorite to win the Super Bowl over the Eagles. That team is amazing.
Talk about one guy that I totally forget is in my division is Trayvon Diggs. And yeah, dude, their defense is a lot better than
And
like
Gilmore.
last year. Yeah, they just added Gilmore. But their red flag is always going to be winning in the playoffs to me. And I know that's summing it up way too easily, but their seasons are predetermined. They'll go anywhere from 10 to 13 wins, win maybe a round in the playoffs, and then get bounced. Winning is the big one. Winning the big one has always been their problem. Their team looks great again this year.
I'm excited for them, dude. Remember, I was like, you guys were accusing me of being a Cowboys fan last year because I was so high on the Cowboys. And then they
It's
had that
really hard
shaky
to
end of the season against the Texans and somebody else, where it's like, what the fuck is going on in Dallas?
either you support the Cowboys and you use logic and it's like, wow, it looks really good from here. And then either you don't like the Cowboys and it's like, well, they never friggin' win. So
Yeah, shout out to ShopRite guy. All right,
ShopRite
the
guy.
New York Football Giants, biggest red flag for me. We still, as much as we did in the offseason on the offense, signing Paris Campbell, Jeff Smith, trading for Darren Waller, re-signing Hodgins and Slayton, drafting Jalen Hyatt. We still don't have a number one receiver. Like, who knows who's actually going to get the most targets, but they don't have like that. This is the guy. And if Darren Waller is the guy, that's one thing, but they don't have the receiver. And then the defense, from where I'm standing, dude, did you see that post that I put on the Sync Boys story? It was guys with the most tackles last season, players who never missed a tackle in the entire season of 2022. Jalen Smith led the league, most tackles without missing, 88. There's 9 guys on this list that qualified. It was minimum 45 tackles. 3 of them were New York Football Giants players.
I love to hear
Who
it.
do you think the other 2 were? You never.
McKinney.
No,
Yikes.
without missing a tackle. Kayvon
Wow.
apparently didn't miss a tackle last year.
I'm gonna go with Adoree Jackson.
No.
Damn it.
Dude, you keep thinking small guys that can get barreled over in the open field.
X is not a small guy.
Compared to Leonard Williams, who is the other guy.
Well, dude, you could slip arm tackles all the time as a D tackle. I didn't know. Is this like an Iron Man thing where it's like
No.
like longest streak, or is it just like
It's
guys that had the most tackles?
It's one season. Players who never missed a tackle in the entire season with minimum 45 tackles.
Oh,
And Jalen Smith had 88 and led the league.
holy crap.
The other guys are not really as notable. Charvarius Ward is, but
He re-signed, right?
Pats, some random guy on the Cardinals.
Charvarius Ward, was he a rookie or second year, or did he re-sign? Or
I don't know. I just remember the name. I just don't.
because there's like 3 or 4 Wards that wear like number 7 or number 2 or number 1. It's like I think Denzel Ward in Cleveland. Anyway, for me with the Giants, I think weak links is linebacker and safety, but I think like again, it's another situation where we don't know our depth chart that well with the experience, so we'll see this year. Like X's could be really good. The other safety spot, we'll see. We don't have Julian
Dude,
Love
also the
anymore.
corners might be better because Adoree had a great season and they drafted Banks in the first round.
But that's also going to be banking on a bunch of rookies because I think you and Sharif mentioned maybe there was a safety you guys were excited about that was young.
Travarius Owens. They drafted him in the 6th or 7th round. I saw him on a lot of the PFF mocks that I did, but it's a 6th round safety. Like I'm not
Okay,
gonna-
so
I'm
it's not like you heard like good things in camp or like training or whatever.
I'm not sure, but I will be going to the Giants training camp, and Jack and Sharif are both opting to not go.
I
I'm
can't.
the
I'm
biggest
busy.
Giants fan in the room.
Yeah, you are.
Let's go, boys.
Knowing Lincoln Dable though, they'll turn lemons into lemonade. All eyes on Evan Neal. Jones and Waller will have a year.
Nice
Let's go.
headline right there.
Let's go. All eyes on Evan Neal.
Yeah.
There's no escaping that one.
Yeah, so don't run and hide. 'Cause
Yeah.
we will find you.
We will.
280-pound monster.
That can box jump like 3 feet. Split box jump lunge. Whatever. It's good.
NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers. Sam Darnold and Trey Lance will be manning the ship or captaining the boat for the first probably couple weeks of the season until Brock Purdy comes back. Assuming Brock Purdy's going to have the right to come back. It seems like that's the case, but who knows? That's the biggest red flag. The rest of the roster is absolutely fucking loaded here, guys.
I don't think anything tells me that this team is moving forward with Sam Darnold or Trey Lance before they have a chance to see what Brock Purdy is when he gets back.
Well said. You're 100% correct.
If Trey Lance is your week 1 starter, big red flag. If
Why?
Sam Darnold is your week 1 starter, bigger red flag. Brock Purdy is their guy. If he's not ready to start week 1, you make it clear he's the guy when he's healthy enough. This is like Shane Falco and The Replacements. You ever seen that movie?
Yes, a million times.
It is my favorite of all time.
Wow, that's crazy.
The
girl in that movie is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Short hair, rocking it, 90s. Or early 2000s when he comes back at halftime for the Dallas game and he's running out the tunnel and nobody expected to see him and it's yeah, buzzing.
Yeah.
That's my thought on the Niners though.
Yeah.
Really
We can
they have
move on.
solid position groups. You might have touched on it. Like they have some of the best position groups in the NFL. And they're a very strong team with strong coaching. QB is their number 1 problem, and
they added to the defense.
Purdy's their guy.
Seattle Seahawks. I think Geno Smith being able to replicate what he did last year has to be the biggest red flag because we know that they improved the defense. They added weapons on offense. They brought back, they have DK, Lockett, Kenneth Walker. But it's like it took Geno 8 years in the NFL to figure it out.
I almost wrote the identical idea.
It's like what it just doesn't add up. Number one, and number two, like he's not athletically superb.
What changed?
I think it was just the environment, dude.
Coaching? Is Pete Carroll really the GOAT?
The GOAT. Who the hell has ever said that?
Not actually the greatest of all time, but just like the
in
man.
the combo.
Is he the man? Like, is he a really, really good coach?
I think so.
I said almost the identical idea. Forgive me for saying that I need to see it again. An awesome year after however long. Like maybe it was always a situation like you were just saying, like the Jets, that's never going to work out. The Giants replacing Eli Manning, you never had a chance.
I think the consensus perception of Geno prior to last year was that he was maybe a serviceable backup and was thrown into that starter role because they were resetting as a franchise.
100%.
And we didn't just come up with that idea because we feel like putting somebody down. That's where his performance in his career led us to believe. So, like I said, we need to see it again. Next, Los Angeles.
I was just going to say really quick. They also did a really good job of making it seem like at least maybe it was even true, but Drew Lock and Geno Smith being like an actual quarterback competition.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like
that idea.
They took Drew Lock back in the Russell Wilson trade. And it's like they really didn't know what they were gonna do. Yeah. And Geno ain't right back though.
Wow. Rams. What's a red flag? Everything. Every single thing. Their head coach in his 30s talking about retiring. Cooper Kupp, serious injury last year. He's their best player. Aaron Donald talking about retiring. Stafford is super old and injured and talking about retiring. Like, this team is like, we're done. We are done. And I heard, I think on the PFF podcast, somebody talking about how if it wasn't for Aaron Donald, this defensive roster, PFF rating wise, would be the worst roster in the history of the NFL.
That's no surprise to me.
Yeah?
Yeah, dude, look who they have going out there.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You got anything on the Rams?
Stetson Bennett to the promised land.
Oh my god, dude. You have to stop with this nonsense.
Get Stafford out of there, that old bag of bones. He's just costing you too much money. You got to take advantage of these rookie quarterbacks on these rookie deals. Kid's going to be a stud. He's a winner.
Dude, they're already locked in to pay Stafford this year.
Nah, for real. This team is Aaron Donald.
You wrote nah for real?
This team is Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, and the ghost of Matthew Stafford, and not much else. The Allen Robinson experiment didn't quite work out last year. Jalen Ramsey got the hell out of there, just hoping for a window soon where Kupp can get out of there. He's 4 more years on this contract.
Yuck. Trade him. Trade him for the number 1 overall pick. That's
1 for 1.
He'll probably go for the second round.
1 for 1.
All right.
Is Cooper Kupp does he get drafted in that 32-team draft?
No, absolutely not.
No?
A huge injury. Might as well call him Odell.
You think whoa, that's where you're at? I still think Cooper. I don't think you lose that like route running ability and IQ. All right.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray's health, his desire to play, and the word that I heard today on Colin Cowherd was indifference. The word indifference and what it actually means is related to this is he doesn't care which way it goes. If he plays or he doesn't matter to him. If they win, if they lose, doesn't matter to him.
Is that like, are those quotes? Or it's like
I'm not
body
quoting him.
language read? Or is it Colin Cowherd?
He's saying that all the people that he's talked to this offseason, someone is mentioning Kyler. His name just keeps coming up as a guy that's like not really buying in, doesn't really care that much. Like, doesn't matter to him. So they have that. They have Shane Steichen. No. They have Jonathan Gannon as their head coach. Dude is an absolute noodle factory.
Yeah.
Both
of those guys, noodles.
Yeah,
Big noodles. Just like Sirianni. Goddamn.
But dude, this organization from top to bottom is an absolute dumpster fire, and that is enough. Like we don't. Do you want to keep going?
Why is it that every year or every couple of years, some of the worst teams we've ever seen are always in the same division? And the Cardinals and the Rams are going to be super rough to watch this year. There's going to be 2 garbage bowls this year.
Well, with this AFC South too.
Yeah. Well, no, because that's going to be fun to watch.
Okay.
Any game that CJ Stroud or Bryce Young are quarterbacking it, it's going to be fun to watch. Super cool that they're like boys and they're going to be in the same division for a while.
Yeah,
Wait, no.
Yes.
NFC South and AFC South. Cards and Texans.
I don't think the NFC South is lacking in excitement whatsoever.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I thought I was mentioning that they would be going up against each other in the same division, but they're not.
I think the Saints will finish 3rd in that division.
All right, let's get to the NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons. They're one-dimensional. If Ritter can turn into a solid system quarterback, they can have a pretty good offense. But the real red flag is their defense. In 2022, they ranked 23rd in rush yards allowed and 25th in opponents' passing yards per game. What did they do on the defensive end in free agency?
Sign Jesse Bates.
Nice. For some reason, that was rumored for a really long time.
Yeah. I don't know what else they did. The next time when we preview this division, we will definitely have that information. But I think that the red flag is that a lot is riding on Desmond Ritter. A lot. Everything. All of it. But this is what we want here, boys. Desmond Ritter is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Arthur Smith.
He's a genius.
Just he needs to grow the beard back.
He's never had a beard.
Yikes.
You yikes. He's
Talk
never had a
about
beard.
late to the Falcons train.
You are not early on the Falcons train. I was on the Falcons train before the season started last year when they drafted Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, but you weren't really watching them.
I was at work because the Falcons weren't on prime time.
I mean, who really wanted to watch the Falcons last year?
Me.
Now they have a fun new running back, new system quarterback. Maybe Kyle Pitts can actually be a little productive.
And Drake London.
Drake London should be pretty good. I mean, he did pretty good for having like literally no quarterback last year. And yeah, like I said, their defense. No idea what they're doing. I seen that Lorenzo Carter either fumble six or pick six like 100 times. It might have been a punt block. I have no idea. I know nothing about their defense except AJ Terrell.
Yeah, he's an absolute stallion.
That's all I know about that team. And Jesse Bates, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
Carolina Panthers. I think this team might be red flag free.
What a joke. What a joke.
A bunch of veterans surrounding a rookie QB. I think they'll be fun to watch, especially if Bryce Young is cooking.
Yeah, dude's high on a sub 6 foot quarterback with below average athleticism.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah,
I think he's got that. I think he's got that high football IQ bug.
Is he the black Baker Mayfield? Yikes!
No.
Yes,
not.
he's a clone. A clone outside of the
Dude, do you remember how much
super loud personality?
Do you remember how much Dude, what a crazy world. Didn't expect the Giants to do this well this year. We would have drafted so much higher as to my expectation. Didn't know Dable was going to completely change the franchise. I watched so much Bryce Young tape last summer. And don't go against my knowledge on this one, bud. From what I saw, mechanics, IQ,
mechanics. What do you know about throwing mechanics?
It looked good.
Yeah.
He was pretty good, and I am really excited to see him in the Panthers offense. And their defense was They have a new coach.
We are going to have a segment where we look at all the quarterbacks and we write down and document how, like, are they going to have an up year or a down year? Because we seem to be on opposite sides of the spectrum on a couple of these guys. So,
like who?
CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Desmond Ritter, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk.
Aaron Rodgers.
Tyler, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson. Do you need me to keep going? Justin Herbert, Josh Allen.
We agree on most of these.
Tua.
What are you talking about? You're just naming quarterbacks.
No.
We agree on most of these.
On which ones? You think Josh Allen is a good football player?
No, but Aaron Rodgers?
I think Josh Allen's a good football player. Yeah. Trapdoor open and shut.
I hate you.
All right. Saints. I wrote, in quotes, keeping a window open that closed when Breeze retired. They go from Breeze and this glory, the records breaking in his final year, big family guy, emotional ride, brought them a Super Bowl, to Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Andy Dalton. And it didn't go well. And now they're moving on to another middle of the road, mediocre, never won anything quarterback. And it's just like what are you holding on to here? Michael Thomas is almost in a body bag. Kamara is nowhere close to what he used to be.
You don't think any guys from the other regime are worth keeping around?
I think that there's always a time, and you can feel it, and I think it's now.
Is
if
Demario
this season
Davis
doesn't go well,
and
there's-
Cameron Jordan a part of that old regime that you're going to have
Yes.
to let go of?
They're super old.
I mean, true.
They're
but
like 39.
those guys can't be bridge guys into the next.
The defensive guys, I think
Time?
you can, because it's a lot of you can take the experience of a defensive end that's been in the league for 10 plus years and through one season coach a middle linebacker into being able to read all these offenses, because that's what the job is at the end of the day, is just telling people where they should be and what's going to happen.
Are we consensus the Saints are going to suck this year?
Yeah, I am.
I think you're really high on the Falcons though.
I'm
As like
disgustingly
a
high on the Falcons.
compensation kind of thing, where it's like you're that low on the Saints because you're that high on the Falcons.
Yeah, that's true. I might be super wrong about the Saints. I wouldn't be surprised if they went out to a hot start there and then fizzled out, losing some brutal Derek Carr fashion games.
Like I don't know what their schedule looks like, but
I think it's super easy.
their division is not tough.
All right, the final team, and I can't believe we
Yeah,
saved
this
the worst
sucks.
team in the NFL for last, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Todd Bowles.
Chase Edmonds.
Chris Godwin and Mike Evans ACLs. Jason Pierre-Paul's lost finger.
He's not still on that team.
Exactly, dude. They're so
Are you
irrelevant.
are you doing the Survivor last episode when they walk around the beach and they have like the little torches that have the guys' names on it? And they just
Yeah.
remember back, like, oh, I remember JPP.
Gronk.
Yeah,
Cameron
Gronk.
Brate. Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller. That 1 yard, man. Over 8.5 yards. It's like a week 15 parlay 2 years ago. So rough. It's like $800.
All right. The Bucks might be the worst in the league. I think competing with the likes of the Texans and the Raiders. So yeah, this is we gotta do a little bet stamp plug real quick, bud.
My Tampa Bay thoughts. I'm
Oh, yeah.
projecting 16 points per game.
Fuck. That's right around where the Broncos were last year.
Yeah, well, yeah,
This kid's a fucking stud.
buzzing.
All right. Bet stamp. We have the Houston Astros at the LA Angels.
The Angeles.
Some books have this line, like BetMGM has the Angels line all the way down at plus 100, but with Profit Exchange, you can get plus 111. If you're not looking to do Profit Exchange, DraftKings plus 110. WinBet plus 109. Either way, all these books are higher than just the plus 100 that you would have gotten. Every time that you can get an advantage on the line, you are getting a bit of an advantage over, or just, a better chance at making money long term. The little money, the little wins add up over time. You do a $10 bet every day with the increased odds that you get by using the bet stamp, you're making, $2-3 extra dollars a day. So, this is what you get with the bet stamp app. You get to be able to see where the best lines are. You also get to use them for player props too. Like, if you wanted to go for, Shohei Ohtani, the best player on the face of the earth, to get one hit, oh my God, dude. This is erratic. Caesars and Barstool and Unibet all have an over 0.5 line at minus 294. But if you are trying to fucking send it, BetMGM has his hits line at 2.5. It's 115 odds, but I wouldn't know that if I wasn't on the BetStamp app.
Borgata.
You got anything there, bud?
I can't believe some books were treating the Dodgers as dogs against this
Against
Mets
Max
team.
Scherzer?
Gonsolin's pretty nice,
He's I.
But the Dodgers are buzzing. They've always been buzzing. They've never stopped buzzing.
Buzz.
And you could have got them at a plus 109 for the full game on Profit Exchange.
classic.
Profit
Classic
is always
Profit
there.
Exchange.
All right, well,
Joe's got to go shave the other side of his mustache.
Download the BetStamp app. Use the code SYNCBOYS when you sign up.
Sing both.
And if you forget to do it, you can always go in the settings after and do it there. But this has been the Sick Boys Podcast. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. CINQ Boys.
Sing both. I'm